Good morning, children. Today we are going to read the second part of the chapter Two Stories About Flying. This part is named as The Black Aeroplane and it is written by Frederick Forsyth. And Frederick Forsyth was himself a jet pilot. So this story is autobiographical in nature, and here he discusses how once he was flying from Paris to London, and he came across a very huge cloud, and how he came out of that cloud safely. And here, when he was struck with this stormy weather with this big cloud, he was helped by another aeroplane, by another pilot. But when he comes down, he is unable to find out who that pilot was who helped him in the time of difficulty. So this chapter has an open ending. It is left for the audience to decipher who that uh, other aeroplane might have been. So when we come to the ending of the chapter, we'll discuss that. Now let's start with the reading of the chapter. The moon was coming up in the east behind me, and stars were shining in the clear sky above me. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I was happy to be alone high up above the sleeping countryside. I was flying my old Dakota aeroplane over France back to England. I was dreaming of my holiday and looking forward to being with my family. I looked at my watch 1:30 in the morning. So the writer was flying uh, at night. It was after 12, 1:30, so you can say it was morning actually. So the moon was coming up in the east. Moon was visible, and stars were shining, and it was a clear sky. There was no sign of any cloud in the sky. It was very clear, and the writer was very happy to be alone high up above the sleeping countryside, as it was night, so people were sleeping. And he was flying his old Dakota aeroplane. The name of the aeroplane is Dakota, and it is quite old. And he was flying from France, and he was coming back to England. He belonged to England, and he was coming back to England from France. And as the flight was a very smooth one, he was dreaming of his holiday, and he was looking forward to meet his family members. He looked at his watch. The time was 1:30 a.m., 1:30 in the morning, and he was thinking that I would reach home in time and I would be able to have breakfast with my family. So I looked at my watch, 1:30 in the morning. I should call Paris control soon, I thought. As I looked down past the nose of the aeroplane, I saw the lights of a big city in front of me. I switched on the radio and said, Paris control, Dakota DS-088 here. Can you hear me? I'm on my way to England. Over. The voice from the radio answered me immediately. DS-088, I can hear you. You ought to turn 12 degrees west now. DS-088, over. I checked the map and the compass, switched over to my second and last fuel tank, and turned the Dakota 12 degrees west towards England. So he looked into his watch. It was 1:30 in the morning, and he felt that very soon he should call the radio. And I should call Paris control soon. So that was what he was thinking, that because this Paris control through radio, they are going to give him directions to land safely. So he thought very soon he should call them. So he made a call, and he said, Paris control, Dakota DS-088 here. Can you hear me? I'm on my way to England. Over. And the voice from the radio answered immediately and instructed him to turn 12 degrees west now. DS-088, over. So he was instructed to fly 12 degrees west. So the narrator checked the map and the compass, and he switched over to his second and last fuel tank. So this was the last fuel tank he had. And he turned the Dakota 12 degrees west towards England. Okay, following the instructions that he received from Paris control, he moved the aeroplane 12 degrees west. I'll be in time for breakfast, I thought. A good big English breakfast. Everything was going well. It was an easy flight. So the narrator was very comfortable, and very comfortably he was flying. He was thinking about the things coming up next, and he was thinking about breakfast, big English breakfast he was dreaming of, and he was very comfortable with his flight. It was an easy flight, he says. Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me when I saw the clouds, storm clouds. So now from here the problem begins. So as he moved his aeroplane 12 degrees west, he saw clouds, stormy clouds in front of him. And he had traveled a long distance from Paris, 150 kilometers. And so he couldn't even go back because he had just one fuel tank left with him. So these clouds, they were huge. They looked like black mountains standing in front of him across the sky, and he knew he could not fly up and over them, and he did not have enough fuel to fly around them to the north or south. So he had two options. Like, this is the cloud. He could either fly above it, or he could take a turn from this side or that side and can move forward. But both these options he could not try out at this point because he did not have that much fuel with him. Going by the side of the big cloud that was as huge as a mountain, or going above it, would need a lot of fuel, and he didn't have that. I ought to go back to Paris, I thought, but I wanted to get home. I wanted that breakfast. And the other choice that he had with him was to go back to Paris. But the big breakfast in the morning, the feeling of meeting his family, that was too much with him, and he thought of taking the risk. He thought of getting inside the clouds and travel through the clouds. I'll take the risk, I thought, and flew that old Dakota straight into the storm. So, into the big, stormy, mountainous cloud he entered. Inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. It was impossible to see anything outside the aeroplane. The old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. I looked at the compass. I couldn't believe my eyes. The compass was turning round and round and round. It was dead. It would not work. The other instruments were suddenly dead too. I tried the radio. Paris control, can you hear me? There was no answer. The radio was dead too. So he entered inside the clouds, and inside the cloud, everything was pitch dark. It was completely black. It was impossible to see anything outside the aeroplane. It was so dark outside. And the old aeroplane, as it was an old aeroplane, it started twisting and twirling. And when he looked at the compass, he couldn't believe himself. The compass had stopped working. And then he tried the radio, Paris control, and even the radio wasn't working. The radio was dead too. So he had no radio, no compass, and he could not see where he was. I was lost in the storm. Then, in the black clouds quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. It had no lights on its wings, but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. I could see the pilot's face turned towards me. I was very glad to see another person. He lifted one hand and waved. Follow me, he was saying, follow me. He knows that I am lost, I thought. He is trying to help me. He turned his aeroplane slowly to the north. in front of my Dakota so that it would be easier for me to follow him. I was very happy to go behind the strange aeroplane like an obedient child. So he entered into the storm, and his radio, his compass stopped working. He was not able to see anything outside the aeroplane, and he was at a loss. He was not able to understand what to do next. He was frightened. But then in the big clouds quite near him, he saw another aeroplane. And this aeroplane had no lights on its wings, but the rider could see it flying next to him through the storm. It was coming towards him, and the pilot's face was turned towards the narrator, and he waved his hand and said, "Follow me." Okay, and so this aeroplane, it just came in front of the writer's aeroplane and started moving, and the instructions were given by this pilot, that you just follow me. So this unknown aeroplane that came out from the blue, it started flying in front of him, and the writer started following this aeroplane like an obedient child. He was very happy to follow this strange aeroplane because he had no other option with him. He was very much scared. He had only little fuel with him. So he started following this strange aeroplane, and wherever this aeroplane was moving, the writer was also moving along with this aeroplane, behind this aeroplane. After half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of me in the clouds. Now there was only enough fuel in the old Dakota's last tank to fly for 5 or 10 minutes more. I was starting to feel frightened again, but then he started to go down, and I followed through the storm. So for half an hour he followed this strange black aeroplane that was moving in front of his aeroplane, and after half an hour the narrator noticed that the fuel in his aeroplane would only help him to fly for next 5 or 10 minutes more, not more than that. So he was again frightened, but then he saw that the black aeroplane started going down, and he was also following him. Suddenly I came out of the cloud and saw two long straight lines of lights in front of me. It was a runway, an airport. I was safe. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty. There was nothing there. The black aeroplane was gone. I could not see it anywhere. So suddenly the writer came out of the clouds, and he saw two long straight lines of lights in front of me, and it was the runway. He was very happy. He had reached to an airport. He had reached to the runway of the airport where he could land safely, and he turned to look for his friend in the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty. He was not able to see any other aeroplane flying in the sky. There was nobody there. The black aeroplane was gone. I could not see it anywhere. So the writer landed, and he was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. So he was not sorry to walk away means he was very happy that he landed safely, and he was coming out of the old aeroplane, and he went near the control tower, and he went there and asked a woman in the control center where he was and who was the other pilot. And he told her that he wanted to say thank you to that other pilot who helped him in his safe landing. And that lady in this control center looked at him very strangely and laughed, and she said, "Another aeroplane up there in the storm? No other aeroplanes were flying tonight. Yours was the only one I could see on the radar." So that lady clarified that there was no other aeroplane flying, and it was only yours that she could see on the radar. So, who helped me to arrive there safely without a compass or a radio and without any more fuel in my tanks? Who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights? So, the writer, he wondered that who was that person who helped him, who was that pilot who helped him in landing down safely without a compass, without a radio, and without much fuel in his tanks. Who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights? So, this is a mystery story, and the mystery remains unresolved. We are not told by the writer who was that pilot flying the black aeroplane. It is left to us to decide who that pilot could be. So I feel that it was the inherent knowledge, you can say, that the pilot had. It was his instincts that helped him come out of the stormy cloud. There was no real black aeroplane who actually came to rescue him. It was only his inner voice, you can say, that showed him the path and brought him safely down. So that's all for this chapter, children. Thank you.